Hi everybody, welcome to Shivers. Today we are doing something a little bit different and we're talking more about tarot cards, tarot readings, spirituality, things like that. I really want to preface this by saying I'm not trying to push any beliefs on anybody. This is not an attack on religion. This isn't even a comment on religion. This is just metaphysics and tarot and all of the fun that it is. So to get started, I have been doing tarot readings since about 2015. I joined a ghost hunting group in college in Philadelphia, and we were all given these tarot card decks. So the whole superstition from the get-go is that you should be gifted all of the tarot card decks that you have, at least the very first one that you get. From a superstition perspective, that doesn't necessarily fall into a category of spirituality, but just kind of makes it kind of fun. So I was given this zombie tarot deck, of course, very on brand, and just started doing it for fun with myself, with friends, anything like that. So my mom opened her business, Solely Holistic, in 2020, and that's when she really kind of pushed me to start doing readings for other people. This isn't just some hobby, this is something that you're actually really good at, so why not put it to actual practice? So 2020 and onward, I've been doing tarot readings, and honestly, being very candid with you guys, there is a little bit of almost judgment of self when I tell people that I do tarot readings, because I see all of those stereotypical people on TikTok and online, and they're basically telling you all of your wishes and all of your dreams are going to be coming true. And I think that that's almost an abuse of doing some of these tarot readings. It's meant to give advice. It's not meant to give false hope. Everything that we're talking about from a spirituality perspective is everything is rooted in energy. So there is no God, there is no person that you should be worshiping. It's just, how do I become the best version of myself, and what tools, what meditations, what holistic way of living is going to get me closest there. So I have grown up Catholic. I went to church every single Sunday with my family. I was an altar server with my sister, and really being able to open my eyes to say, what do I believe? What is the actual religion that I'm talking about, thinking about? And of course, I write a lot about my beliefs of religion and my feelings towards religion in my book, Burn Her Down. But thinking about all of that, it's really, where did I feel the most connected? And that was always going to psychic fairs and with the crystals, the crystal girlies. And being able to now dive into that, thanks to my mom, has been just such a life-changing experience. Now I get to understand how my words, my actions turn into manifestations. It's the idea of what we think, we believe, we become. That as above, so below. Everything within me is outside of me. Everything that's outside of me is because of what's inside of me. So it's very much this idea of everything is connected. Everything is energy. And what do we feed it? What do we do to it? How do we become, again, the best version of ourselves? The pursuit of life is not to chase this high of happiness. It's to have the experiences, to live. And we all have this idea of a higher self. And this is almost like the perfect plan of, if you came here with all of the knowledge in the world, this would be your higher self journey. This is almost that chase. You're trying to find out, what is your higher self? What is that most authentic version of you? And again, nobody can answer those questions for you. Tarot can help. Reiki can help. Energy healing can help. These are all just tools in the tool belt. So that's why I say there's really no belief system, because it's just you. You got to believe in you at the end of the day. So in doing a lot of these tarot readings for people, it's very interesting to see. There's a lot of people who come in that are skeptical and they want a reading just to see what it's all about. There's a lot of people who are 100% open-minded, and that makes things very easy. And then there's other people who are kind of on that fence. They want to believe, they want some help, but they're sort of stuck in the logical. And that's how I had always been. I want to lean into this, but I'm naturally very logical. I'm very skeptical of things. So being able to look at it from both of those perspectives, I think for me has been very helpful in getting that message across a little bit, So in general, tarot's here to help. It's not something that's spooky. There's no witchcraft to it. It is really just pulling cards based on the energy of the person who you're in the room with and seeing what comes out. There are deeper steps from an intuitive perspective where the more that you practice it, the better that you get at understanding when you're picking up different things in the cards. You know, for example, I could be doing a reading for, I don't know, my best friend, and everything in the cards is all about sun, happiness. These are some of the imageries that I'm picking up on here. Sunflowers, you know, tulips, whatever. Whereas on another person I'm doing a reading for, I'm picking up more on like the water element, or, you know, getting outside, more nature. So the cards themselves mean the same thing. And I'm telling these people exactly what these cards mean, but with then that second layer of intuition behind it. So when I teach Tarot 101, 102, this is really what I try to provide that information to people, is that if you want to learn tarot, it's really all about memorization first. You've got to get the baseline of what these cards mean in order to provide appropriate, accurate readings to people. It's not just pulling a card, opening a book, and reading it, because, you know, people could do that at home. You can do that for yourself. So it's not only, you know, I have my cards next to me. So let's say for this one, this is the 8 of Swords. And this deck is the Tarot and Tequila deck. So it does have margarita recipes with it, which makes it kind of extra fun. But these imageries in these cards are very close to the traditional. So I'll get back to that in just a second. But when we're talking about the 8 of Swords, this is the card that is everything that's going on around us we don't really see. There's no negative, there's no positive. It's just the idea that there's stuff going on. We're in this box. Don't be afraid. You know, all these swords, if you open your eyes, you're going to get scared. Just almost ignorance is bliss in this instance. So on a regular basis, that's what this card means. From an actual textbook perspective, it is just keep your eyes closed. You don't know what you don't know. And kind of keep it that way for the moment. From that intuitive perspective, let's say I'm doing a reading for somebody who is, I don't know, manipulative. I might be picking up on this guy and saying, you know, maybe he doesn't have your best interest in mind. And again, that's based on whoever I'm with is going to pull out that information for me. I'm not making the assumptions based on who's sitting at the table. It's what's popping into my head. And that's where we get into a conversation about the clairs. So the clairs are really how you tap into your own intuition. These are already naturally in us. It's that sixth sense. So there is claircognizance, which is the knowing aspect. You know, for me, that's what's strongest. On a regular basis, I am a very fast driver. I enjoy driving fast. So one day I'm driving down the same road that's by my house and not really paying attention, and then just popped into my head, slow down. There's no, it's my own voice. It's not anything else. But I'm now aware enough to know that I'm just driving like normal and this is out of the ordinary. So I slow down, and on that road where there is never, ever, ever a cop, there's a cop. So that's that knowing piece. You know, it's your own voice. It's not you being told by some ether or by some god to slow down. You're not even being told that there's a cop. You're not giving that information. It's just helpful advice. So that's that knowing piece. Next up is the clairvoyance. So clairvoyance is what a lot of people know, I think, very stereotypically. This is actually being able to see spirits, ghosts, energy, whatever. There's a lot of people who do aura readings. And so the idea of auras is that you have this natural color around you. It's almost like a mood ring based on what you're going through. And so these colors will usually pick up on the colors of the chakras. So again, you know I keep bringing up all of these different spiritual topics, but we'll just give a high level of each of them. So the chakras are these centers of energy that essentially kind of line your spine. It's the energetic area between the front side of you and your actual spine, but they line with your spine. So the chakras are the crown chakra, the third eye chakra, this throat chakra, your heart, your solar plexus, which is your stomach, your sacral, which is more of your downstairs area, and then your root. And your root is really what grounds you. Your crown is what gets you connected to the ether. They each have a specific color that's associated with them. So let's say that you are somebody who is very confident, knows exactly what you want, knows exactly where you're going. Your aura then, from that solar plexus, that stomach chakra, is all about confidence. your aura then is probably going to be a little bit more tinted yellow, because yellow is that solar plexus color. So people who have clairvoyance, they're able sometimes to see your aura, that yellow color. If you're having not so great of a day, you know, it might be a little bit more dim. It's never going to be black. It's never going to be dark. The white would then be like, you are very connected. The crown chakra is white. So you are incredibly connected. Doesn't mean that you are an angel of any sorts. It's just, you're very open, very connected. So clairvoyance is that seeing. You have a couple of fun ones. You have clairgustance, which is actually being able to taste things. I did a mediumship class a little bit ago, and the woman who was teaching the class said that she was doing a reading for somebody, and they were talking about their parents, and everything in her mouth tasted like meatloaf. So she was very concerned that she ate something earlier in the day that tasted like meatloaf, that she was afraid that her breath was going to smell. But really, it was a more connected, intuitive hit to say, oh yeah, my parents who are in passing, that was their staple meal, was meatloaf. So that was the way of sort of connecting to the client across the table from her. There's also the hearing aspect of it. You actually hear things, clear audience. There's the feeling perspective of it as well. And then I believe that's it. So it's the knowing, feeling, tasting, seeing, hearing. So it's all, again, part of how you connect to your intuition. So a perfect way that I always teach how to connect to what clair is yours is just close your eyes for a second. Hopefully you're not driving. Imagine that there is a woman and a child standing in a room. What do they look like? What do they sound like? What are they doing? What is their relationship? Is there anything in the background? Any smells to pick up on? Now you can open your eyes, and whatever came to you first is going to be the best clair that kind of connects with you. So again, for me, from that knowing perspective, that claircognizance, it is, oh, we're talking about a mother and a child. I didn't say mother and child. I said just a woman and a child are in a room. So the knowing steps in before I even have all of that information. It almost feels like an assumption, but again, it's based on this practice. If you could see their figures before anything else, if you could hear a child laughing, if you could smell or taste a perfume or a candle that's going on, you know, these are all the things. If you feel the warm touch of them in the room, whatever was strongest for you, it's going to be your easiest way of connecting to your intuition. So start leaning into that and practicing with that a little bit on a regular basis. Just even doing meditations on YouTube, you know, any guided meditations that are going to be talking about, you know, you see somebody on a bench, what do they have to say to you, blah, blah, blah. Start paying attention to how that information comes into your head. So anyway, back to then the cards. So now we have this element of, I've already memorized exactly what this Eight of Swords means. I've memorized the idea that this is all about, I don't know what I don't know. Now, from an intuitive perspective, you can pick up on the guy in the background. The next person that you do a reading for where this card comes out, you might pick up on the fact that she, you know, her legs are exposed. You know, maybe have a little bit of more of that like beauty element from a female perspective, or, you know, any perspective really. So yeah, you know, you might pick up on the fact that it's blue, whatever, you get the point. It's adding in that element of intuition to it based on what you've already practiced thus far. So there's really no wrong way to do it as long as you are having the memory of the cards from the get-go. I think it's really great, again, going back to the point of me talking to almost half skeptic, half open-minded self, to be able to lay out cards and say, I'm not just popping something from my head as a reading to you. We're both looking at the same thing. So I am doing my job by telling you what these cards mean, and then adding in that element of intuition as well to kind of make it personal to you. So there are a lot of times where people will come to you and just want to be told what they want to be told, but that's not always the case. So you'll also start to notice, especially if you're doing readings for people who are very skeptical, reading just body language is going to be very helpful for you. They'll cross their arms, they'll sit back, they'll roll their eyes, they might check on their phone, just anything that's going to be a little bit distracting. So when it comes to people like that, I always advise just give whatever kind of reading you can. Don't force it. If you're noticing that the cards are not really making sense when coupled next to each other, and you're not really getting anything from an intuitive perspective, just shut it down. There's nothing wrong with saying I'm not getting anything. I would say the only thing is wrong is just, hey, you're not even open, so don't bother coming back. You know that. They're probably not very open to receiving this reading, but that's not your judgment to make. So again, I wanted to come on here today and kind of give a little bit of background on tarot, especially because I'm doing more of it. I've been doing those readings for clients since 2020, but it's really picking up. And from the Shivers perspective, it's always tricky for me to want to talk about the horror on a regular basis because that's what I'm passionate about, and paranormal, but that all does cross over to the day-to-day of this metaphysical, spiritual way of living and world, So it's my belief and my perspective that it does all tie together because I'm not adding in some element of religion or worship or anything like that. So yeah, that is really sort of my spiel on the very, very high level of tarot and spirituality from the very baseline. If you're interested in this topic, want to hear more about it, this is what I do more often than not. So I'm happy to talk about it more. But in the meantime, I would like to kind of end this with just a generic reading for everybody. So again, this is very out of my comfort zone. I'm not very much a believer of the TikTok, YouTube tarot readings, but I want to do something different and a little bit more genuine. So I'm just going to pull 3 cards for everybody, whoever's watching, whatever you guys need to know. And again, from a perspective of asking questions, do what you can to not say a yes or no perspective. You don't want to say, should I take this job? Should I do blah, blah, blah? It's really more about what is the result of something? What do I need to know? Any of those whats are going to be helpful. If you want to give yourself some homework, then you could say, what actions can I take towards this situation? Let's say we're asking a question about a relationship. You want your relationship to be better. You can ask a question ahead of time of, what do I need to know about my current relationship? And then a follow-up of what actions can I take to improve my relationship? So again, thinking of this as if you are asking advice rather than tell me what to do is going to be your best friend. So to give you all a reading, I picked 3 cards for you. Again, these are going to be very similar to the traditional way of reading cards, like the actual imagery that's on them. The Rider-Waite deck was made in 1909. This is the most traditional version of tarot cards. So again, from a superstition perspective, if you and your friend are both interested, just go buy each other a card and swap them. But I would always recommend starting with like classic tarot, anything that you see with that kind of verbiage, the Rider-Waite deck itself, that's totally fine. So what I have for you as the first card, this is the 5 of Pentacles. So when we're talking about Pentacles, this is all about money. So 5 of Pentacles itself is having this lack mindset when we're talking about money. So this is almost a reminder to be grateful, how to add a little bit more gratitude into your day. This is also the card of just sort of acknowledge, where am I taking for granted my money? Where am I maybe not spending so smartly? Anything like that. So again, an acknowledgement of this lack mindset of materials, of resources, of whatever. What can I do to change that? And how can I flip my perspective and be a little bit more grateful? Next up, we have the 2 of Swords. This is all about being decisive. This is the crossroad card as it stands. This is, I'm looking left, I'm looking right. There is no turning back to whatever I decide. So this is very much that nudge to actually make a decision, an acknowledgement that you are at that crossroad, but you will stay there until you specifically decide. And that is very much coupled up with this Hermit. So this Hermit is you being able to guide your own light, push yourself forward. It is very much a soul journey, like you and no one else. There is no advice to be given because you have to find your own light. So all of this very much ties together to really bring forth a reading that is a reminder to be grateful, but an acknowledgement that maybe you don't have all the resources that you want to right now. How do you get that? You have to decide, where am I going next? And that decision is rooted from you, your gut, everything like that. So be your own guiding light at this point in time. So again, that is just a blip of a reading that I would give to you, but I want to leave you with that. So again, if you're interested in learning more about this stuff, if you want me to do another episode talking a little bit deeper into it, I am more than happy to. Again, I've always just been a little bit skeptical because in my opinion, it's on brand, but I know on paper it's not. So let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you so much for listening, and please like, subscribe, do all the fun things, and I will see you next week.